Once upon a time, there was a girl who lived in a town of hills and honey-coloured stone, where putrid steam rose from ancient hot springs, and it almost always rained. The girl was called Kate, and she was a teenager. Kate was an unpleasant creature, because back then, she didn't know who she was. Really, as a fetid little grub, she should have been cocooned in a dark chamber for 10 years before emerging as a bright, sparkling, stealthily cancer-ridden butterfly. But a defect in human evolution means this most unpleasant and painful of developmental stages is carried out in the glare of daylight. And it was only when Kate finally hatched out and shed her caterpillar skin that she found the people who have walked with her ever since. The people who have made life like Oz, even when gloom, pain, and drugs sucked the technicolor from the world and tried to turn it to Kansas. This was originally going to be the chapter which provided a bit of light relief, some laughs to relieve the solemnity of a book about dying. But writing it is, strangely, more painful for me than anything else, because being a teenager, and specifically the years 13 to 16, were without doubt the worst period of my life. Yes, really. Far worse than my acquaintance with the nuisance. As far as I can tell, becoming who you are as an adult requires a period wherein you are possessed by a wicked spirit who hates everything. Your childhood, your parents, old friends, your bedroom, your clothes, your face. It's messy to watch, and even messier on the inside. But it's Darwinian, a necessary stratagem for the self to evolve into something which is no longer a child, and which can survive and thrive outside the nest. So, I shall provide some gruesome details of the grub years, because in every good story, there is a period of despair before hope arrives. Back to Kate, in her blue bedroom in the small, honey-coloured town, nestled amongst 7 hills like a damp, Austinified version of Rome. I kept a diary. At the start of 1992, it began with the line, "It is January." But which January? This arch-opener, because I expected my juvenilia to be anthologized one day. But there wasn't anything dramatic about that January, or indeed any other January at that point in my life. After the holidays, I went back to my slightly better than bog-standard comprehensive school. There are 2 pertinent facts about this school. First, the existence of a wonderful English teacher. Second, it was single-sex. No boys. This gave it a particularly rank smell of female sweat and cruelty, the sort that only gets dished out girl on girl. Back then, friendships were toxic, obsessional things. The wound of my first ever best friend, Rosie Lee, who I loved for her curly blonde hair and extensive knowledge of Kylie Minogue lyrics, leaving me for another, still smarts. One day, I was cast aside on the long walk to school in favour of Katrina. Katrina was older than Rosie and me. Worldly. But Rosie provided no explanation for this abandonment. There was no process of separation, no divorce. I trailed behind them day after day like a sad Labrador, silently ignored. This was my first realization that I was not one of the cool girls. It would have been hard to be cool, looking as I did in 1992. First, there was my hair, which was coloured bright orange with henna. My fringe was blunt. I had many freckles and a very round face, and even rounder tortoiseshell glasses. Then, as now, I was quite sturdy. "Built like the rest of us Tanner girls," my heftily bosomed grandmother would say brightly. Though my name sounded like hers, I was basically the antithesis.